Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to my channel. It's early Sunday morning, and just the other day, some news has broken in Britain regarding perhaps another huge sex scandal with the comedic star and now political activist Russell Brand. Now, Russell has been popular in Britain for decades. His stand-up, he worked for the BBC for a long time. He had a TV show. He's done BBC radio. He moved to America, did 2 or 3 movies there, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and there's a couple other ones. He was married to Katy Perry for a time, and then back to Britain. He started shifting a little bit from his straight sort of prurient comedy to social issues of the day. He wrote a couple of books. He's kind of morphed into a real political, social truth activist on YouTube and on Rumble. He's got millions, I think something like 4 million, 5 million followers on that alone, and he calls out government policy. He's been critical of vaccine mandates, critical of different government policies and this kind of thing, and he is a very good researcher, very good. His information is spot on. He's telling the truth. He's also quite a wordsmith, very entertaining. That's why he's always been very entertaining to listen to and to see, because he's got quite the command of the English language. He's quite clever, erudite, intelligent, really, really good qualities. And now here's the thing. During the course of his career, even when he was a very young man, he was always very open about his sexual exploits, his sexual addiction, his drug addiction. He's always been out in front of it. There's film, there's radio, there's video of these kinds of things. I remember years and years and years ago when he was quite young and he was working for the BBC and on some TV show, and he actually picked up a homeless man in the street, took him back to his flat, jumped in the tub with him, and performed a sexual act on film. So this is a guy that is not shy about sharing his sexuality and sharing his exploits. We've heard all about it over the years. It was another one of those things that it was on, everybody knew. Not only did he come out and say it, everybody in the entertainment business knew what kind of a guy he was, knew what was going on. It wasn't even a hidden secret. It wasn't, or a secret that everybody knew kind of thing. Like they're saying about the recent allegations against Hugh Edwards and Philip Schofield. Like, is this a case now of yet another British TV star, entertainer, being involved in a tawdry sex scandal? Well, it could be. Apparently, the investigation has been going on for over a year. A couple of newspapers and the BBC have participated in this investigation of him, where they're saying I think they've talked to 5 women, and they're asking more to come forward. There's allegations of rape and sexual assault and all kinds of things. Now, he's come out, he was doing a stand-up at a theater a couple nights before, I think Friday night. These allegations were aired yesterday on British television. And he said, you know, I can't talk about it all, but this is just patently untrue, you know, and I guess he said, you know, figured he's been honest about his sexual exploits all along, so there's nothing to see here, folks. So we have to look at this and wonder, in my mind, it's one or the other. Is Russell Brand a terrible sexual predator that's been hidden in plain sight for over 25 years, protected perhaps by the BBC, which seems to have been the case with others going back as far as Jimmy Savile to the more recent, and it hasn't only been the BBC, to be honest. That was Hugh Edwards. Philip Schofield, I think, was with ITV. But anyway, you know, the practice of protecting your talent and sweeping things under the carpet and this kind of thing, which has happened before, and it happens all the time, where a situation everybody kind of knows, but he's a talent, let's keep it under wraps. The first indication there was ever a falling out with the BBC was way back in, this is, I don't know, 2010, or could have been earlier, I can't remember right now. He had a radio show on one of the BBC radio channels, and there was one particular episode where he and Jonathan Ross, who is a late night TV variety show host, kind of Johnny Carson, Jay Leno kind of a thing, Late Night with Jonathan Ross. He was with the BBC for years. He's now still on TV, but with another channel. Now, he was interviewing him on his radio show, Russell Brand was, and they were making phone calls, and they phoned one star, and they were talking to him and started making really horrible comments about, I can't remember if it was the guy's daughter or his granddaughter, about her periods and menstruation. I mean, it was just so foul. And him and Jonathan Ross were laughing and thought this was just a hoot, just absolutely being disgusting. Well, that resulted in Russell Brand losing his BBC radio show, and Jonathan Ross, whose show was on the BBC at the time, got, I don't know what it was, a 6-week or 8-week something, 3-month suspension, and then he was brought back, suspended with pay, of course, because he was one of their biggest talents. In fact, a little something you may not know, like in Britain, all of you are supposed to pay a TV licensing fee to the BBC, just for turning on your TV, whether you watch the BBC or not, and it's something like £150 a year or something like that. Not a lot of money, but you shouldn't have to pay it anyway. At the time that Jonathan Ross was with the BBC, not only was he making, like, I don't know, £1 million or £2 million a year, whatever, for his show, he also got a cut of the license fee. He was being paid for his tenure at the BBC 1% of license fee profits. So he was raking it in and, you know, taking your money, whether you watched his show or not. Now, he was eventually, and I'm not sure because I haven't watched him for years. He's still on air, but on another channel. Now, Russell Brand, after this radio thing and everything, he went to the States and, like I said, starred in, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 movies. The only one I can remember at the moment is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I actually watched that movie, pretty much played himself. It was a cute little rom-com kind of a thing. But yeah, and married Katy Perry. He was in the States for a few years, I think maybe 5 or so, and then moved back to Britain. And now he's got still doing stand-up, still doing comedy, but his online presence is one of a social and political activist calling out truth and really being quite critical of the government. So here we go. Is it a case of a sexual predator hiding in plain sight and they're finally coming after him? Or, which is happening and we know it does, is it a case where he is getting too big, too powerful, has such a following that he is creating dissent and creating problems for the powers that be? He's calling them out. So here's the question: sexual predator or political enemy number one? That's for you to decide. I'm just bringing you my thoughts. Have a great day, everybody. Leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you have to say about this issue, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.